Hello everyone and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video where today I'm going to create a double page spread that is part of a YouTube collab with the creative design team where we are celebrating Jayma's 20k subscribers achievement. So we're all going to be scrapbooking one of her layouts. And I thought what better way to celebrate this than by starting off, yes, another new project, but this is of our recent trip to San Diego, which actually happened this month. I can't believe I'm actually saying that out loud. We all got together in San Diego for 6 nights. Unfortunately, Andrea wasn't able to join us on this trip. She had to pull out at the sort of last minute, which was very, very sad. But you can see from this photo here with Katie, she was there with us in our hearts and in spirit everywhere that we went because Katie brought along a photo of her that we could put in some of our photos and celebrate sort of her being with us. We did have a meeting call with her, so it was like she was in the room with us because we put it on the big TV and we were all sitting around the couch and we were all chatting about future plans and celebrating being together. But as I said, I can't quite believe that this trip actually happened within 12 months of our last one to Vancouver, and I haven't finished off that album, but I really wanted to scrapbook these photos to celebrate this trip that I've basically only just got back from, but we had such a great time and I just think the photos show how happy we are to all be together again. I've got some photos of day one. Of course, these aren't the only photos that we took on day one, and I'm going to talk about them as I go through putting this together. Basically, this was when we were all arriving and getting together. You can see Jayma and Katie. And then with Chelsea, they all arrived at the airport. I had been in Anaheim for a few days with Julie. Prior to that, we did a bit of a Disneyland and California Adventure Park trip before we were picked up by Erin, who was actually driving down from Northern California to San Diego, and she picked us up on the way. And you can just tell by the smiles on our faces how excited and happy we all were to be back together again. So what I've done is picked a layout of Jayma's. I will link to the YouTube video below where she's actually got a collage of photos coming down here. She's got 2 3x4 type photos, but I've printed mine as 6x4s. And on the right page, she did a large photo collage and I printed home, and I've printed this on an A4 sheet and just trimmed it down slightly. And I've just manipulated the photo wells just a little bit. So I've got my landscape photo here. I've got 2 portrait photos. This photo of the house that we were staying in, I have put to a 4x4, and then that enabled me a spot to put my journaling. And this journaling is actually printed directly onto the photo here. I will put a link to a video in the description below where I show how to do a large photo collage in Canva and how to add some text. This one I've actually done all my journaling on that, and I've decided I'm going to do this pretty much throughout this album because when I type, I tell more of the story, and if I can include it with the photo prints, it means my journaling is done. And I'm a little bit guilty of going back and journaling later. So it's fun to be able to journal straight away and use it as part of a photo well here. Now, the video that Jayma shared this video about is all about choosing unexpected papers. So I'm going to just leave this up the top here for reference. And then I'm going to bring in some papers. So I had to do a little bit of a sort through all my papers. I was going to bring in some brand new papers, but I decided to use what I already have. So the first one I thought of bringing in was Take to the Sky Designer Series paper. Just a heads up on this one, this will be retiring at the end of this month from the annual catalogue. It is not getting carried over into the new catalogue. So if you've had your eye on this one, I would get it now because it's really great for travel. So what I was thinking of doing, Jayma has a block of paper on this side, and then she's got some strips on either side of the photos here, and a larger photo mat with this. So I'm looking at all of the colors on this page and they're all fairly neutral tones, but I was going to try and bring out some of the blue and also some of the black in Katie's shirt and the rest of our clothes here. And this one wasn't quite sitting right with me, so then I thought about just doing grey on grey. So I'm just going to put that one aside, and that's the other side of the cloud paper here. And I thought about, I'm going to do the building on this side because I can just sort of put more of the paper down here so that you can see the process, and it's close enough to here so I can see how that's going. But that's a bit too much of a washed out look. So then I was thinking I would bring in a little bit of green rather than trying to match the blues. So I went to the Sweet Days of Autumn paper, and that has this gorgeous rust colour on this side, but also a gorgeous green, and I put that up against my photo here, and I think it makes the photos pop. Rather than trying to match the blues in this paper, this one's a little bit too busy to put behind here. So I'm going to bring in another blue. This is from the Mixed Media Florals pack, and see if that one works a little bit better. But I just think it's too much blue with the blue sky. I think the photos are really popping with the green, and I think they're going to look really nice up against these photos because Jayma's got 2 strips on each side of the photos here. So one large photo mat, and then I can cut these pieces into strips to put on each side of this one. But I think the grey is just a little bit too washed out. And I actually thought I had a black and white plaid paper, but because I have gone through all of my old close to my heart papers, and I've made them mainly up into kits for workshops, and I've bundled them together for people to purchase, I didn't have this paper left. So I do have this pack of Jack paper that I have been saving. This was probably, let me see, 2016, so it's 9 years ago, and I'm really glad I saved it because this little icon here, I'm going to be using that on one of my Alaskan photo page spreads. And this has some really gorgeous paper in here that I think I will bring in for my Alaska trip. I love this side here with the trees, and all the subtle patterns that are in here as well are going to work quite well with some of my Alaskan photos. But what I wanted was a strong black, and this is a little bit unexpected to put that with these photos. But that's sort of basically what Jayma's video is about, choosing unexpected papers to go with your photos. And when I put this one under here, I think you'll agree that this makes this side of the page pop with the dark colour here. And if I put it on this side and then put a little bit of this paper under here so you can see it with the photos next to it. And just dig all of those out. I think it's going to work really well. And when I'm looking at Jayma's left side here, she's got an area here with a title. She's got a cluster element there, and that is going to break up some of the black on this side. And then for the right page, you don't see as much of it because this photo collage is going to go over the main part of that black area. But I think the black is really going to work with these photos. So I'm going to cut these strips up and then assemble the main part of this, and then I'm going to come back with putting in the circle elements that Jayma has, the title, and then maybe some little elements. I might use this everyday arches. This was just sitting there looking at me at the front of my tub that I keep on my desk, and I love the little planes here. So that is going to work. I'm going to fussy cut some of those out. And then there's a couple of sentiments here that I can use on a scrapbook page. So embrace the journey and hello. I'm definitely going to be using that. I think for my title, I'm going to bring in the alphabet a la mode dies. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use circles as the cluster sort of holding elements that Jayma has. And then I'm going to see what else I have in my stamp sets that will work with a travel and friends type theme. I've got my pieces all adhered down, and I really love the introduction of black onto this layout with the green. Even though none of us are wearing green, I think the green really complements the black and makes all of the blue pop here. So with my title, I've cut that out with the alphabet a la mode dies, and I'm going to do 2 sort of titles here. I'm going to have one going up the edge and the other one going across the bottom here. Now that's a little bit different from what Jayma did in hers. She's cut hers, I think it was on the Cricut machine, and gave it a little placeholder, but I'm actually liking the clean lines of this. But I think I need to add something else to this piece here. I've done the actual foundation of the layout pretty much to what she's done here. I'm not sure if I'm going to introduce circles or tags. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but I do want to do a little bit more decoration to this. Now, back when we used to get papers from Close to My Heart, they had a branding strip or a zip strip, and this is the one that went with this black here. So I'm just going to try that on the edge of this here, and I actually really like how that looks. And then my title can come down like this. And then this one, I can just trim and top and tail it underneath the photos here. And I think that's going to break that up a bit. You can see I haven't quite trimmed it properly, but it's not going to really matter when it goes up against the black here. So I think that is going to work rather well. One thing I did want to mention, when I was cutting this pattern black piece of paper apart, I purposefully didn't use the piece in the center that's got all of the circle elements here. I used the two outside pieces on my layout because I thought that that would work better than having this full circle on this side and then the pattern extending over here. I sort of like how it matches coming across the left and right page. And I was thinking of bringing in the banners or maybe this piece here, but I think I'm going to use tags for my elements, where I'm going to do some little bit of stamping with the aeroplanes here. I'm going to also bring in my Happy Labels punch, and I'm going to use that to do these little sentiments here that I've got: embrace the journey and hello, just to tuck in and around the pieces here. So when it comes to Jayma's layout, she's got this circle element here. I think what I'm going to do is just have some of these ticket punches there instead of a big floral cluster, and then maybe pop up a tag in this area here using this Greetings of the Season dies. I've actually got some that I've already cut here. Now, some are cut with basic white and some are cut with white willow. So I want to make sure that I get the right color on here, or I might cut a new one depending on the shape. But I'm hoping you can pick up on camera. The basic white ones are a little bit more of a creamier white, so I don't want to use those. But this is going to give me an idea. This tag might be a little bit too big. Just going to put that there. It's not going to serve any other purpose than housing some words and things like that because I've already got my journaling there. I might use a more angular shape, and that might match up with my tickets that I'm going to punch out of this Happy Labels punch. So I'm going to play around with that. I'm going to die cut a couple of these and do some stamping and work out where my embellishments are going. So while I'm adhering down these letters here that I've got, I just want to talk about Jayma and how I got to know her. I used to follow all of the creative design team girls, not used to, I still follow them on their YouTube channels, and I would wake up every morning and look to see what they had posted and watch their videos over brekkie. And they're really the reason why I started my own YouTube channel. I watched all of them and I just saw how they did their process videos, and it really inspired me to start recording what I was doing rather than just making my layouts and sharing them at workshops and everything. So I had been commenting on their videos for quite some time, and then I started my own YouTube channel. Every now and then one of them would comment on my videos, and I would just be so excited that somebody from the creative design team had commented on something that I had done. And it was just so encouraging, and the feedback that they gave me and the words that they said about what I was doing, it just sort of made me want to keep on making more and more videos. And then one day I got a friend request from Jayma, and I was just so excited because I just thought, oh wow, Jayma has sent me a friend request on Facebook. And then she sent me a message and asked if we could have a little chat. And she gave me a call and asked if I would like to be a guest designer on the 31 Days of Christmas cards. And this was, I've done 4 of them now, so that's a few years ago, and I was just so honoured that she would ask me, and all the girls wanted to have me as a guest designer on 31 Days of Christmas. And of course, I didn't even hesitate. I just said yes straight away, and they were so inclusive with everything that they did. Even though I was a guest designer, I know I did, I think, 4 videos for that first 31 Days of Christmas. And I enjoyed working with them so much, and it was coming towards the end of it, and I'd done my last video for that event, and I was a bit sad that the communication, we'd had Zoom calls that they had included me in, and they were just so encouraging and lovely, and I was a bit sad that that was all about to stop. And so I wish them all the best of luck with whatever they were going to do in the future. And Jayma sent me a message and said to me, oh, you have to come to this meeting. And I really didn't think that I was going to be going to the debrief meeting after the 31 days because I'd done my little stint with it. And I was so surprised that they asked if I would like to join their team on a permanent basis. And from there, it's just been a story of friendship, support, encouragement, everything that we do together as a team with the creative design team, and things that we do outside of that as well. They are the most beautiful women, and I'm so honoured to be a part of their group, and to have the chance to do a second trip with them is just beyond belief. To think that scrapbooking has got me 2 overseas trips in 2 years with these gorgeous women, I'm just so grateful. So now, after talking about that, I'm going to go away and I'm going to do some stamping, because I'm not quite sure what to say next, except for Jayma is just a driving force behind the team. She was the original person that started putting the group together, and she was so welcoming. She has a vision of what the creative design team can do, and then we all contribute to that, and it's all just so inclusive. Everyone's opinion is always so valued, and to work with these amazing women is such a privilege, as I've said before. But Jayma, she deserves this 20K celebration. She works so hard, and her layouts and her YouTube channel are so inspiring. I'm pretty sure everyone that is watching this video that I'm doing already subscribes to Jayma, and if you haven't, go and check her out, because you are just going to love the way she combines color and papers and designs to just complement her photos so well. And there will be a playlist linked below for this YouTube collab, and you can check out all of the other girls as well. And Jayma, I am just so happy that you reached out and asked me to become a part of the 31 Days of Christmas, and that all of you wanted me to continue on as a creative design team member. I never thought in my wildest dreams that scrapbooking would take me the other side of the world to meet up with you all, and now this is our second trip that we've done. The 6 nights away with the girls and the few nights that I spent away with Julie before this, it just flew by. And that is just a sign of how well we all get along together, and the conversations and the laughs and the fact that we just enjoy each other's company so much. I really can't wait for the next trip. So now I've got a little bit emotional. I'm going to go away. I'm going to cut out some tags and punch some of these and do some stamping and come back with my finished layout. I've stamped these elements on the ticketed punched pieces. This one here and this one is a 1/2 inch piece. And all you do is just slide it in to the punch. I'll just get this one. It's actually a little bit shy of 1/2 inch, but it really doesn't matter as long as I get it nice and centered. And then you can simply punch this and you get this gorgeous ticket end. And then I've stamped these 2 elements here onto those, and then I used a 3/4 inch strip for the aeroplane there so that it fitted nicely. And for the right page, I'm going to bring in this tag, just bring that one in, and I'm going to pop that here, and I've decided to use a happy day, and that's from the linked together set. And when I look at this, it's a little bit too wide, so I'm going to have to do some masking. Now there's several ways you can do masking, or you could do stamp surgery and cut this in half and then piece it back together. But what I'm going to do is just use this piece of paper here, and you could put a post-it note on top of this day and then ink it up and remove the post-it note and stamp it down. But I'm just going to try doing it just off the edge here and ink that up. But I am going to use this piece of paper to help me line things up, and any ink that I may have got onto that day is going to stamp onto this piece of copy paper. So I just need to get my head over this to line it up, and then I can stamp that down. And then I'm just going to do exactly the same thing by stamping day. I think I'm going to nestle it in between here. So I need to bring in this piece of paper once again. I'm trying to do this without getting my head in the way. It'd be actually easier for this one to use a piece of coloured paper. So I am just going to get out a post-it note here so I can actually see, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I think I'm going to line it up around here. I'm going to ink this back up again. And now I can see perfectly where the edge is. I need to move it just a little bit more. And I've got that nicely lined up, and I can stamp day. And I really like how that nestles underneath that one. And then I'm going to come in with a little aeroplane. Which one am I going to use? I might use this one actually. Here's a bit smaller. And I'm just going to finish my tag off with a little aeroplane stamp. and that's from that Everyday Arches. So I've used Embrace the Journey, Hello, and these two little airplane icons, and I think they work really well. I'm just going to put the lid on this before I make a mess, and then I'm going to see how this looks. So that is going to sit here, and I need to finish off my little piece here with a bit of twine. And I know it's less decorated than what Jayma has on hers with all the florals, but I really like the clean look of this. And this is like the opening double page spread for this section of the trip. As I mentioned before, Julie and I spent a few days in Anaheim, so that's going to be at the first part of my album. So I don't need a single page for a title page for this one because it's just going to follow on from our Anaheim trip. But on the right-hand side, I've got this little piece here that sort of represents the clusters that I've got. I haven't got anything on this section, but I've got Girls Trip down here. And on the left side, instead of having this cluster of elements, I have just some tabs here with some words here that just represent this start of our trip with the creative design team all together. You're going to see Andrea popping up in some of our photos as we take her along our trip for this. It was really sad not to have her there, but she really enjoyed seeing where she would pop up with this little photo that we've got here. I also need to bring in some dots, so I need to work out what I'm going to use for this, but I love the combination of the black, the light grey and the green here. I think it just looks really good, and I love this design that I've copied from Jayma's Hawaii trip. I've put my tag in here and I finished it off with some of this Natural Tones linen thread, and this is the garden green. It's not quite the match for the old olive paper, but I think it looks quite good with this. I have got a little glue dot under here so that I could drape it down across the tag because this is so close to the top of the paper and it's not an interactive piece because my journaling is here. I just wanted to position it so that it's sort of finished off the edge of that tag here. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but when it comes to putting dots down, sometimes I have a hard time trying to decide which ones to use. So I pull out all the dots that I've got thinking, I will just try everything until I find what I like. So what I've settled on is these classic matte dots. I could definitely use the antique pearls, but they're a little bit too shiny for this look, and the smoky slate pearls would work quite well. So what I normally do is I take them out of, I just use, these are the envelopes that the dies come in, so I just use them to store my dots and everything like that, and I can then see what it looks like by looking through this clear element. And the silver sort of works quite well, but I want to bring in some white dots. So I did that for all of these dots until I found the ones that I wanted to use on this layout. Now, I don't think these ones are available anymore, but I would like to use up what I have. The neutral matte dots would work quite well. They're new, and I'll put a link to those below. They have white and black ones, but I don't have any white and black ones left at the moment. I've just got very few of them because I've been using them for weekend retreat type things. So I am just going to put some of these around these little elements that I've got here, using a variety of the black and the white. And you can see black is sort of my favorite. They're the ones that I run out of the most. I'm just going to put one over here. I'm going to put another white one on the black over here. And then these last little black ones that I've got, I'm going to put one down here with the hello, although that is lining up too much with the one above it. I can't get that off because I've pushed it just a little bit too hard. I wonder if I can get this one off very carefully. So what I'm going to do is nestle this one in here. Sometimes when I do the dots, I don't like having them sort of all in a line like this. I like them offset just a little bit. I'm going to come back with another black one. I might put that down here. Another black over this side. And now I've used all my black ones up. So maybe what I'll do is just nestle one in here as well. So I've got 3 in each area. This is a fairly clean and classic type page, but I loved the layout that Jayma had, and it's unlike me not to have white space on one of the sides. So my left side here is full of pattern paper, but there's still some white space here, and having the white with my title and these little ticket elements here to stamp on and the white borders on my photos. I print my photos with the white border. That is enough white to break up the pattern papers that I've used. And I find that with these 3 patterns here, they are tone on tone, so they're not fighting against each other at all. So that's my layout all done. I'm just going to bring that up so you can have a look at this. This house that we stayed in was absolutely fabulous. The view out of this back area here was straight to the ocean. And because we were up on a little bit of a hill, we could see that. And then when the sun set, it was just so pretty and the perfect view to wake up to and enjoy when we weren't out traveling around and seeing the sights of San Diego. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember to click on see more in the description below so you can check out the playlist to see what the other creative design team girls are up to as we scrap lift Jayma and celebrate her 20k subscribers on YouTube. Happy crafting everyone, and bye for now.